Hi, I'm Donna Buffton, and we're at the Tarrant County Master Gardener's Demonstration Garden, and welcome to my shade garden. I've been a Master Gardener since 2014. This was our intern project. We renovated it in 2014, and we've taken care of it ever since. The purpose of this garden is to showcase hardy, low-maintenance, drought-tolerant plants that anybody can grow in their garden at home. They're very little maintenance at all, not a lot of trimming or fertilizer requirements. They're very hardy. A shade garden is a garden that gets morning sun. It gets 4 hours a day, and it's not sun during the hours of 10 o'clock in the morning and 6 o'clock in the afternoon. That's our hottest part of the day, and a lot of these plants would not make it during that time. Some will actually burn. The Texas heat is a big problem for a shade garden. You cannot have any sun during the hot part of the day on these plants because most of them will not do well. The Turk's cap will be fine, and I think the American Beautyberry can also do sun, but Japanese maple is another story tree. It could not be, and the oak leaf hydrangea and the cast iron plants, they will not tolerate any kind of sun. So normally you get a shade garden because your trees have gotten too big or bigger, and your shrubs have gotten bigger, and all of a sudden the grass won't grow there anymore, or the sun plants that you've had in there aren't blooming or dying, and that's when you realize that you now have a shade garden. So one thing you have to remember when you plant all of these, the first year you put them in, they sleep, they don't grow much. They're growing a root system. The second year they creep, that means they'll get a little bit bigger, but they're still not to their potential. And the third year that they're in, then they leaf. So you don't want to get things too close together when you first plant them, because you get a surprise when they're 3 years old and they're all crowded together. So we tried to keep these spaced out. But for shade garden, you don't have to do anything special that you wouldn't normally do to your garden. We put in compost, we fertilize it twice a year, and sometimes we do mulch. The mulch blows off all the tubing, so it kind of isn't as effective as it could be because of the wind. But there aren't a lot of different things that you would do. You have to watch, though, if you have one that has a windbreak and you have the moisture capturing phenomenon in yours, you want to watch for fungal infections and for root rot, because those can happen if you're not realizing how wet it is. You keep watering and it's not evaporating as quickly. You can monitor that with a moisture meter. This is the Japanese maple. It is very low maintenance after it's established. You have to let it get established, and it took some care of getting enough water to it. But once it's established, it's fine. This one is about 2 years old, and it was a memorial for a master gardener of ours that passed away. In the winter, it turns red. It's beautiful, but it stays green the rest of the year. Over here, we have an oak leaf hydrangea. It has panicles on it. This one flowers. It has panicles on it. They get about 6 to 12 inches long, about 6 inches wide, and they're white when they start off, and they go to a kind of iridescent pink. This is an American Beautyberry, and it's native to this area. It's native to the United States. And it also is deciduous. It will lose its leaves in the summer. You can cut it back to 12 inches tall and let it come back on its own the next year, and it comes back fuller and nicer if that's what you want to do with it. This one is only about a year old, so we're not doing anything to it right now. But the best part about the American Beautyberry, these purple berries, and they are edible. I understand that you can make jellies and jams out of them. I've never done that. But you have to get them quickly because the birds love them. These plants here in the front are called cast iron plants. These are very sun they're harmed easily by the sun. They are dense shade. They don't want any sun. This little bit that's coming through the trees, that's the dappled shade, or dappled sun. That's okay. It's called dappled shade. That won't hurt them, but if you get very much sun on it, these will just turn brown. And a lot of times you'll see these around a tree or in a big clump. I have a clump that's huge, and it is very showy. It's very reliable. It's very easy to care for. Some of them will die. Some of the leaves will die off in the winter with the freeze, but you just cut them off and more will come back. It's very hardy. This is an umbrella tree, and it has been here 6 years, and we don't do much to it. It gets the regular fertilizer twice a year, and it comes up reliably. Some varieties are taller, but this is a little different texture and look, and that's the way you get your differentiation in this kind of garden, is your different kinds of plants and leaves and garden. The biggest problem with the shade garden is it's all green leaves, and so the textures are different. This is a very different texture, and the Japanese maple is a very different texture, and other things that you can add will give you some color, but it just looks like a big green garden most of the time. Seasonal planting, the only problem with seasonal planting is, will the plant you're putting in here tolerate having very little sun? If you can put it in the morning sun, it may do just fine. Like if you wanted to put, I don't know what you want to put, like maybe mums, something like that, they might do all right. They won't necessarily flourish, but they may stay alive. If this were my home garden and I was going to care for it, I would put in some higher maintenance plants. Like you could put begonias in here, they'll bloom. Impatiens. We have lyre-leaf sage down here, and also cedar sage, and they're a red tube flower. And they bloom in spring. It's all in spring. The one thing that will bloom the whole time after June till frost is the Turk's cap. That's a reliable one. But you can also add things like Coleus. I have that at home. I have Caladiums. Caladiums are beautiful in the ground or in a pot. Mine are in a pot, and I plant it real heavily, and it elevates it a little bit out of the garden, and the color just pops. And I have them periodically down my garden, and it just kind of draws the eye down instead of just always seeing green. This ground cover over here is called St. John's Wort, and in the spring it has yellow flowers, and then the rest of the year it's just green, but it's very low maintenance. We trim a little bit of the frost damage off in spring, but other than that, it's fine. You could probably take the top of it off if you wanted to, but there really isn't any. It's a very pretty little ground cover. We also have a Juga, which is a good ground cover, and it has a purple flower in the spring. We have a couple of rock roses back there that will flower. They flower better in the sun, but they will survive and do some flowering in the shade. Another way to put some visual interest into your shade garden is with boulders. You can use stones and rocks. Also, you can make a pathway through there. If you want to, you can make rock designs with. Go on Pinterest, you can see all kinds of options for doing the rock designs. But something that will bring the eye along, so it's just not a sea of green. If you think that you are ready to put in a shade garden and you want to see one, or see some of the plants that you have options for, please feel free to come out to the demonstration garden in Fort Worth and check out the shade garden.